Good afternoon. As I said, my name's Paul Bonner from Honeywell. I'm going to be talking about Honeywell Connected Plant. We're going to start off, we're just going to show you a very short video that kind of sets the scene, and then we'll move into the main topic. And I hope you can hear this.
This is Stan. He is the plant manager at a refinery in the Midwest. On his way to work today, Stan received a pulse notification on his cell phone. This is not good news. The feed rate in the CCR platforming unit dropped. Stan needs to find out what happened. In his morning meeting, Stan reviews the plant's overnight performance on the CPS dashboard. CPS, Connected Performance Services from Honeywell UOP, alerted the plant's process engineer of a compressor load increase on the net gas compressor. So, in order to avoid tripping the compressor, or worse, shutting down the plant, operations had to reduce the feed rate, which slowed down production. The CPS specialist from Honeywell UOP, who monitors the status of Stan's plant, saw the compressor issue as well. Knowing that was a problem, she immediately contacted the process engineer. They decided to tap the expertise of the compressor OEM, so the three of them, the process engineer, the CPS specialist, and the compressor expert, look at the relevant plant data in the secure Honeywell Cloud. The compressor OEM runs a data analysis and discovers that the abnormal compressor load was caused by blade fouling. He recommends a naphtha wash. Within an hour of the naphtha wash, the feed rate was back up. Problem solved. Stan wants to take this further. He wants to prevent this from happening again. Actually, the process engineer is already working with the CPS specialist to improve dryer control and tune the control loop. That's great news for Stan. With Connected Performance Services, he has an expanded ecosystem of experts always monitoring his plant and ready to analyze problems and resolve them fast. What used to take a week or more was solved in just a few hours. And with downtime costing more than $100,000 a day, that has a big impact on Stan's bottom line. After lunch, Stan is going to leverage the power of CPS and Honeywell Connected Plant to optimize the refinery's gasoline production.
Okay, so let's take a look at how we actually do that in the real world. So what we're going to talk about is what is Honeywell Connected Plant. It's a Honeywell's real entry point into this whole Industry 4.0 and the industrial Internet of Things. And then I'm going to show you the real use case of how we actually deliver what the cartoon was describing overall, which is our Connected Performance Services solution, which is a Honeywell HPS and UOP joint technology development. So let's talk about Honeywell Connected Plant. So it really consists of three pieces. So it's about connecting the process, and Honeywell We're an interesting company. We're not just a software or technology company. We own UOP, one of the world's largest process licensing company. So we actually bring a lot of domain expertise in oil and gas and petrochemicals and other disciplines. It's about connecting people. So we've for a long time we've really been focused on how we give the operator in the control room great visibility over the process. Now it's getting more to how do we actually do the same thing for the operators who are actually walking around the plant, so around connecting the people up and making them effective. And then assets. One of the key things about IIoT is about having assets and having smarter assets. So how do we gather more useful information, predictive type information from the assets to really drive them to give the maximum performance and reliability. So that's really Honeywell Connected Plant. We've actually brought together three Honeywell businesses to do that. We've brought together the CPS business, the Connected Performance Services business from UOP. We've brought together Honeywell's Advanced Solutions business, which has been around for quite a number of years, really driving profitability. And then we've brought together our digital transformation and industrial Internet of Things business. We've combined their capabilities into a single larger business unit. In terms of what we're trying to do for the customer, and it's all about the customer, it's about how do we drive increased profitability for the customer. And that comes from these three dimensions. It's got to be increasing the throughput for the plant, it's about increasing the yield, and it's about reducing cost and risk for the end user. So those are really the key pieces of this. Our solution goes everything from the field device right up to the supply chain. So it's a very holistic solution. If we drill down a little bit into what those three elements, what is it we actually touch in terms of throughput, yield, and reducing cost? This diagram gives you some idea of the areas. So in terms of how do we make the production more efficient, a lot of it is around operator effectiveness. So it's having live KPIs, key performance indicators, from all of the major processes, the major pieces of equipment. So you don't have to wait till the end of the week or the end of the month to know that you were off spec or you were off production, in real time. It's about putting new quality control tools and technologies. A lot of predictive algorithms are coming along now to help actually reduce off specification. We've been doing it for a long time with inferential property controls as part of our APC package, but now some of the newer technologies like deep learning and some of the other big data solutions are actually giving us new ways of actually coming up with more accurate predictions that we can put online for the customer. And then it's about actually optimizing the process. One of the key things about optimizing the process has always been to know where are the constraints. How hard can I push this process? You can get something that goes very, very, very fast, but it's going to crash at some point. The idea is we need to be able to intelligently be able to look at how hard you can push the equipment without actually causing yourself unplanned downtime. Asset surveillance is a big area right now for everybody, for IIoT. And then the things that go with it, predictive maintenance and expert guidance. Not specifically Honeywell expert areas. UOP, the process is really our expertise. What you'll see is the approach we've taken to things like a lot of the assets is we're actually building a whole partner network of other companies, other OEM vendors for equipment who actually bring that domain expertise on their own equipment. So our approach is, put the whole infrastructure in place, deliver the things that we are expert on, and then bring in the key partners and OEMs who are expert on the other pieces and make the overall infrastructure available so we can deliver the right thing for the customer. On this side, the other key piece of driving profitability is the whole thing around supply chain and planning. So it's things like using data analytics for demand side planning. It's looking at things like inventory and work in progress reduction to improve capital efficiency, and then how we tie into enterprise supply chain. So it's all building all of this on a single platform. So there are many other people are doing, specific compressor monitoring or some other pieces. We're kind of bringing the whole solution together for the customer and for their OEMs. A lot of the middle of this chart will be very familiar to you. This is the traditional thing. If you go into just about any refinery or chemical plant, you're going to find the piece in the middle there. You're going to find pervasive use of the distributed control system. You're going to find that MES layer, the lab systems and the maintenance management systems, planning and scheduling systems, and then the ERP. What we've done now, really, we've expanded this in two different directions. I think one of the most important things now is the cloud. Customers are finally starting to embrace putting their data into the cloud. Obviously, cybersecurity is extremely important, and if you have a chance to walk around in the demo area, you'll see one of our big focuses right now is providing the right level of cybersecurity to enable customers to move their data securely into the cloud. Honeywell's released our own cloud infrastructure called Sentience. It's a layer that sits on top of most of the common. Right now, we're actually using the Microsoft Azure platform. This layer gives us the industrial look and feel that's needed for the cloud to support these applications. And what it will allow is for us to use it on top of its current platform, but we can also move it into in-premise application. So if the customer has their own cloud in-premise, we can bring all the same look and feel to the customer on their own cloud, or we can transport it across different clouds. To the side there, what we're finding is as we're getting more and more smart devices, there's a lot of data that's coming from the plant that the operator really doesn't need that data. It's needed by things like maintenance systems, by the OEMs to be able to. So the operator needs to know what you figure out from those devices, but we really don't need to take the whole thing up through the DCS. So what we're creating is a series of IoT devices and edge gateways that let us take that data kind of around the current infrastructure and then up into the cloud, where we can consume it either as Honeywell or our partners can use that data to come to the right conclusions. Some of the important pieces that really sit around our Sentience Cloud, a common asset model. We're looking at multiple sites, moving data into the cloud. So if we've got 2 or 3 refineries from the same company, it's very important. They need to be able to know that this tag in this refinery means the same thing as a different tag in a different refinery. So having that asset model is extremely important. Actually having asset management, so the ability to deploy calculations and the models that we come up with through some of these statistical methods is deployed in this thing called Asset Sentinel, which is a key part. You'll see that in a minute in the UOP CPS applications as well. Big data analytics, a very exciting field. We're starting to use it for a number of different things right now. So, the one I've kind of picked out there is cognitive learning, but we're looking at things like deep learning algorithms. We're doing a lot of pattern recognition type applications on real-time data. So there's many rich areas where big data analytics are now starting to come from. They've been used for several years. If you're buying things on Amazon or your credit card companies have been using these for a number of years, now it's actually coming into the industrial space. And I think really we're only limited by our own imagination in terms of what we can actually use it for. One of the things that we do realize, the world we live in, data analytics has a lot of promise, but living in the real world, a lot of the chemical and refining processes that we work on, they're governed by fundamental laws of physics and chemistry, and so there's still a great place for fundamental models. So our approach is we want to, if we can use models, so for example, we have our Unisim simulation tools, we have a lot of empirical tools. We use those first if we can build explicit models, and then we only use data analytics for the things that we really don't understand, or to process massive quantities of data to try and get further understanding. So when we talk about analytics, it's not the silver bullet for anything by any means. It has to be used judiciously and for the right application. So what we've done is we've actually built a group within Honeywell that has all of the different modeling capabilities, from rigorous first principles, empirical and statistical type models to tackle any problems. The other thing we want to do is we're starting to bring in these third parties. We've created what's called the Inspire program, which I'll talk about in a second. We need to be able to expose a certain portion of our customers' data to those vendors, but obviously they don't want all of their data exposed to the vendors, and we don't want each vendor exposed to other partner vendors. So what we have the ability within our cloud is to actually abstract certain portions of the data and make it available to our third-party vendors through this Inspire program. And so that's what we have, is the ability to provide this data and then bring the key performance indicators and the results of that back to the customer through the cloud platform. So I'm sure most of you are somewhat familiar with or very familiar with IoT. So this is kind of an overall description of IoT. So it's somebody said industrial Internet of Things requires two things. It requires internet and it requires things. I kind of like that quote. So being an industrial company, we have a lot of things, first of all. So I think the things that are key here in this is really to be able to capture the data from the devices and have smarter devices, to be able to organize that data in a rational form where you can consume it, and then actually connect it to the business, and then apply analytics and other modeling tools to actually come out with things that give you optimization and predictive algorithms. If I drill a little deeper into that, this is kind of the bottom two layers. This is the physical layer. So the things, obviously a lot of traditional transmitters and other field devices, analyzers. But now we have, as well as the option of taking it up into the distributed control system, we also have things like edge gateways. So we can actually take the data up into a gateway that's going to go into the cloud and bypass the DCS layer. We've introduced a number of things for skid-mounted applications, like a new PLC this year, which is a real first for Honeywell, but it's called Control Edge for a reason. It's actually it's a full-blown PLC, but its intention is it can connect direct to the cloud. Remote terminal units, RTUs as well, that have that same capability. And then if you've got individual or small numbers of stranded assets, we've put in place cellular devices to be able to take those devices at low cost up into the cloud as well. So that's really how we've gone from the field to the edge. Above that, we now have from the edge upwards, we have this Sentience Cloud, which is what we've released. And that's being used not only by our industrial business within Honeywell, we also use it in our aerospace business, we also use it in our connected buildings business. So it's a single large supported architecture with, like most cloud platforms, very large capability and security. So attached to that, we now have the ability to create a number of applications. So we or our partners can create a number of different applications. When it comes to data science, doing single projects tends to be somewhat less than efficient and quite time consuming, particularly for the end customers. So what we're aiming to do is actually, what we're going through now is we're doing a lot of proof of concept projects with a number of different customers. And the idea is to actually build products, build applications from those things with the built-in knowledge that then become configurable applications to be used on top of the web, or on top of the cloud, rather than having to go back and do a full data science project on every project. So we're actually creating new applications that will become apps that you can actually basically buy and use for your thing. So it's a much better way of actually rolling out and supporting applications. Down this side, what you'll see is we have our data science group within Honeywell right now. We're about 150 data scientists working on different applications in our cloud. In the box, this is our Inspire program. So what we're doing there is we're actually bringing in OEMs, EPCs, and other groups like process licensors. The biggest one, obviously, is UOP right now because it's our own internal company. But what we're doing now is starting to sign up those companies, and they're actually bringing their models and their knowledge, and we're connecting them to our cloud infrastructure. We've already announced several of those. Let's go down a little bit more. So this is what we call our Inspire program. So this is how we're bringing those OEMs on board. So the idea is we're picking key industrial problems that we want to try and tackle, such as reliability, supply chain optimization, efficiency, and we're bringing those partners on board and developing these joint solutions with those partners. Some of the ones we've signed up, it's in its early stages. Some of the key ones we've signed up, obviously UOP is heavily on board with this. Aerion, one of the flare manufacturers, has already signed up. Dover Corporation, who are kind of multifaceted company, and there are press releases on all these already. I'm not telling you anything you probably haven't already seen. Very strong in oil field services and oil and gas. Spark Dynamics, a company that specializes in optimization of compressed air plants. And probably one of the biggest ones is Flowserve pumps. So they're just really the ones who are the most, the ones we can talk about at this stage. So we've got quite a lot of activity in our Inspire program right now. So I want to finish off where we started, and that's really just giving you a really good example of something we've really managed to mature. This is our Honeywell connected plant. This is connected performance services from UOP. So this is something that was built. We've been working on it for about 2 years now. We've actually got it up and running in the field now with several customers. So what we're doing here is the key issues you can see at the top that we're addressing: unplanned downtime, any assets that are underperforming, the usual human capital challenges that everybody knows about, and then energy and emissions. With UOP, because they play in the area of gasoline, diesel, clean fuels, legislation is changing all the time, and they're really at the forefront of that. So being able to use these solutions to actually help the customers achieve their environmental performance is very important. If you look at the solution at the bottom, really starting with the green box on the far side, we collect the data. So we've created a secure pipeline that takes the data from the customer site in a secure way. It encrypts it, and it brings it over into the Honeywell Sentience Cloud. We have systems in place using models and using our asset management software to actually do data cleaning, data reconciliation, heat and material balance to make sure the data is actually clean and valid data. It then comes into our advanced computation platform where we have Unison models. We have a lot of asset models that have been built by UOP and some of their suppliers. It runs those and will actually generate any predictions for faults or issues that are there for the plant. And then it takes it up and will actually run optimization cases and then render the data back to the plant operator in terms of dashboards, drill down dashboards that they can actually look at. And if there's a problem, it will identify it for them, and it will give them actually the full troubleshooting right down to the individual problems, as well as alerting the UOP engineers associated with their plant. So it's kind of the cartoon at the beginning was kind of a simplistic view, but it's really what we are actually delivering for customers now. In terms of what's the value of it, the so what for customers, what we're seeing is it's something like 30 to 50 cents a barrel for a customer in the refining and petrochemicals area to have this. We've already built it out for some of the most complex UOP units for things like hydrocrackers, FCC units, the Oleflex PDH units. Some of those are already done. We've done full aromatics complexes now. So this is not just something aspirational. It's something we've actually turned this whole connected plant into a reality. I think that is. This is, I guess, my final slide. This is really sort of the, where are we, what have we done? So in terms of a summary message, I think the key thing is from this is really that, understanding the process and the assets, it's not just about, you can't be a data cruncher and just do this. You really do have to understand the chemistry and the physics and the mechanics of the process. So, and it's not just a single model type that matters. You've got to have all the different types of methods and modeling to be able to do this. Having that operations capability and knowledge is very important. Another thing I mentioned that we're on the large process licenser. The other nice thing about Honeywell is we own a lot of manufacturing plants, so we are actually a chemical manufacturer in our own right. So we actually get to use all these things on our own plants. So we somebody put it, we eat our own dog food, I think was the term somebody used. Security, extremely important. So cybersecurity, we have one of the largest industrial cybersecurity groups anywhere in the world. I think we have about 150 cybersecurity professionals in different offices around the world, and it's not just aspirational. We've actually got things that we can show, and we've delivered value for customers. I think that's probably a good introduction to what Honeywell Connected Plant is. Anyway, all right, thank you.